The crypto basic. Top trader says XRP will crash hardest among majors, opens massive short with $1 million. Okay, now what's funny about this is that this decision and this public proclamation came right before XRP started ripping to the upside. And it's hilarious. Now look, here's the deal. I just got to be clear at the outset. XRP, I know, it's not going to go perfectly up in a straight line. So if you're somebody who is every single day against XRP because you irrationally hate it, you suffer from the affliction known as XRP derangement syndrome, you're going to be right some of the time. Like a broken clock, you're right. I mean, a broken clock, right? Twice a day, right? So every once in a while, the toxic Bitcoin maximalist or just irrational XRP hater, if you just keep saying it's going to go down, eventually you're going to accidentally be right. But the problem is, for so many of the people that keep shouting this tripe, it's very clear that their irrational bias is seeping into their analysis, and they are misleading large audiences. In fact, the individual referenced here has well over 200,000 followers. And he's been crapping all over XRP literally for years. He says, F this coin. And he's pushing some sort of weird meme thing that's been around for like a year. I don't know what it is. But it's just so fascinating to see that he doesn't like, you know, one of the largest cap coins in existence, with the longest track record, with perhaps the most utility out there. Certainly in terms of payments, most utility. But he wants to just prop up and grift with this weird meme coin thing. It's weird stuff here. And you keep finding that this keeps happening with the people that are in their weird little echo chambers. But and I've said this message so many times, those people who are not biased, who are a blank template, when they come into contact with XRP for the first time and they do research, the typical level-headed person will be like, oh, well, that's neat. So you're telling me that business models can exist by utilizing XRP that otherwise could not possibly exist? That's appealing. That's interesting, right? Well, yes. Charting guy, and by the way, just to be clear, even if you're just a charting guy and you don't really care as much about fundamentals, you can still look at the charts and find that XRP just makes sense. I've seen so many chart analysts that have been preaching that very point. So that's why I'm starting with this post. This is from Charting Guy. He is one of the many analysts I follow who accurately called XRP breaking out this cycle. When it was at lows, he was insisting it would hit a new all-time high. And he insists it will hit price discovery. We are waiting for that part, but it did hit a new all-time high already. That was supposed to be impossible. That's what we were told by the toxic Bitcoin maximalists, right? But it's been outperforming Bitcoin. And they don't like that. So here's what Charting Guy shared on July 29th, 2024. I have noticed that only the best chartists on this app that have no bias like XRP. Because they know narratives don't matter. It's all about the charts and the cycles. I will continue to shill XRP because the chart looks amazing and something big is coming just based solely on that. Awesome. Good for him. So I'm not a chart guy myself. So I came to a conclusion that XRP makes sense, not because of the charts, although I will say that unbiased chart analysts jumping in, all it does, if anything, would just affirm that I'm going down the right path. And so over 7 years now, I've been looking at fundamentals, and I've been insisting that as long as a cryptocurrency is useful, and especially if it's increasingly useful, and solving more problems for people, solving more problems for businesses, it's not going to just go to zero because of reasons. Eventually, the market figures this out. And the fact that XRP has been attacked for years and years and years by the SEC, and it still stayed in the top 10 coins by market cap, shouldn't that have been a signal to you? I mean, to me it sure as hell was. Some people could not see what was just glaringly obvious, and now they're finding out the hard way. And so Charting Guy here is correct. He was talking about the charts coming from an unbiased perspective, and I'm biased now because I've been in this for 7 years, and I admit that. But there was a day when I was unbiased and I heard about XRP for the first time, and I jumped into crypto and I was like, this just makes sense. It is just useful. And I still believe that. Take a look at this post from Crypto Michael. He's another analyst that accurately called this. And so he shared this post. This is from September 18th, 2022. Now, mind you, this would have been what, like, yeah, about 3 months after the cycle low. XRP got as low as 28 cents this market cycle. It was June 2022. And again, he posted this September 18th, 2022. And he wrote, I put my money where my mouth is and bought another $150,000 worth of XRP at 33 cents. Folks, he put in $150,000 into XRP at 33 cents. It ran to $3.39, and it's lower now, but of course nothing goes up perfectly in a straight line. And he shared the receipts. And this is all public information. He was screaming this for years to be like, hey, people, this makes sense. So this is what happens if you're an unbiased person. You look at the charts, and so he's another guy that says that. He's not, as far as I know, I don't see him delving deep into like the fundamentals and this and that. Now, that's more my shtick. I'm very interested in what's happening from a fundamental perspective. I'm curious as to why people are doing what they're doing. Why are they investing what they're doing? He, like chart analysts do, I'm just observing this, is they're looking at that and they understand that humans are biological robots and they tend to behave the same over and over and over again. And so they look for patterns in charts, and that can give you an idea of what might happen. And it's about probability, not certainty, but he was seeing that based on that. And so I'm at a different level looking at fundamentals, understanding that there's going to be some number of humans like myself who will not allow XRP to go to zero because we genuinely believe in it. We believe that there is actual value there. And there is value there if humans say there's value there. That is how it works. That's how money works. Money is a trust system. That's what it is. And so if you ask somebody, what is money? Like, what makes something money? And they'll typically cite a few things. They'll say it's, medium of exchange, unit of account, and a store of value. That's typically what people will say. And that's true. And I agree with that. But you don't get there without it first being a trust system. Because if you don't trust it, it can't be those three things. And so you look at how humans behave. I'm just saying, there's always going to be some number of humans that are like, if everybody's selling, there's going to be some smaller percentage of humans that are like, nah, you guys are wrong. I'm going to buy your fear. That's where I'm coming from. So anyway, he shared that post. Here it is, March 19th. Everyone is jumping on the XRP bandwagon now. No one wanted to buy with me at a 10x discount. It's funny how that works. Yeah, it is. But that's how it goes. And we've been through a lot the last several years, mind you. I want to share with you this post from the blockchain backer, given that we actually finally just found out, and I know everybody knows, I said that, the SEC has dropped the appeal against Ripple. Now, technically, the commissioners have to vote on that, but, I mean, it's effectively a done deal. And so here's what the blockchain backer said about this. The journey was so long. While I'm happy to see it over, it's as if there is the exhaustion you experience when crossing the finish line at the end of a long race. You're happy it's over, you succeeded, but you're tired. It's a weird story that will be attached to many of our lives for the rest of our lives. Now, folks, when he wrote that sentence specifically, I was like, yes, that jumped out at me so hard. I was like, absolutely. It has consumed so much of my life, so many hours, because I've been so involved in this community, so involved in this cryptocurrency, so heavily invested, and I felt so unjustly attacked by the SEC. Yes, that'll be a part of me forever, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way. And so I've thought in terms of that. I haven't ever articulated it quite like that, but that's why when he said that, I was like, yes. And I'm sure many of you are like nodding your heads out there. Yes. We as a community went through something very special here. And it's just incredible to see that, yes, indeed, we were correct. We're out on the other side of this now. But anyway, so he said, we had to stick with it for over 4 years, having faith this would be the outcome. It was always going to be part of the story, the victory. I will sleep tonight for the first night since December of 2020 without it being an overhang. It's a strange reality because now it's time to snap. That is fantastic. 100%. Absolutely feeling the same here. Let's go ahead and jump up to think this one here, actually. Yeah. Some people, though, are toxic Bitcoin maximalists. This Pierre Rochard guy. Oh, this freaking guy. He wrote, the biggest mistake I see crypto traders make is trading crypto instead of buying and holding Bitcoin for the long term. Let me tell you something that's hilarious to me. There's a reason I'm highlighting this specifically. Back in 1992, when I jumped into crypto, which is, by the way, actually 2017. In 2017, you know what Bitcoin maximalists are arguing? It's so hilarious because they've completely flip-flopped. They were arguing that Bitcoin's the only cryptocurrency and that all of the altcoins, they're not actually cryptocurrency because they're all centralized. That was the type of argument they were saying, but they explicitly would state Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency. Now, I don't know why this happened. It happened. Talk to these stupid little fart smellers in their little echo chambers. They're all like, they're sniffing each other's brands in there. Ask them. I don't know why this is. But they went from saying, no, Bitcoin's the only cryptocurrency to Bitcoin is not a cryptocurrency and everything else is crypto. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin, which is not crypto. Which literally isn't true. Check a dictionary and the way that it's been discussed and described for 16 years. You stupid little bitches. And so we get crap like this. Top trader says XRP will crash hardest among majors. Opens massive short with $1 million. Crashius Clay, a widely followed crypto trader, has suggested that XRP could experience the greatest price crash among the leading crypto assets. Clay shared this perspective about XRP in a tweet on Tuesday. This view contrasts with other market commentators such as Jacob Gain, who are predicting a new all-time high for XRP. However, Clay believes that instead of reaching a new all-time high, XRP will likely dump to historic lows. This suggestion comes amid ongoing discussions in the crypto community that the bull cycle may be over and that the market could be entering a bear season. Clay is leaning towards the bearish side and has opened massive short positions on both XRP and Bitcoin. In his tweet, he shared details of his shorts on these two assets. He added his expectation for XRP over the next 2 months, saying, I believe XRP will crash harder than any coin in the top 50 in the next 30 to 60 days. Okay, so let's review some stuff here. Here's a post from March 12th. Any last words, XRP Army? $1.80 to $1.30. So that's what he was calling for on March 12th. Now, as you well know, XRP ultimately ran up to $2.58 and said, so what he thought was going to happen in the short term didn't happen. Now, that isn't me saying it can't go lower. I'm not taking a position on that. I'm taking a position on this guy, Crashius Clay, with 260... Oh, it's even more than I thought when I started recording this. 265,200 followers. This guy for years has been crapping all over XRP, been wrong at key points along the way here. And so I will just say, even if he's right and the price of XRP in the short term goes down, he's going to be wrong in the long haul because he doesn't understand why people continue to buy XRP after 12 freaking years of it being on the open market. He doesn't understand the utility. He doesn't care. He's in an echo chamber just being an idiot. That is what's happening right here. That's it. And there are so many of these people. But look at the reason I'm taking the time. Crypto media is covering this because this guy has 265 freaking thousand followers. That's insane. He doesn't have insight. He doesn't have vision. He doesn't have wisdom. I don't know why that many people are following this individual, but stuff like that can happen. And he's consistently wrong. So if you scream XRP's going down enough, if you say it every single day for years and years and years, sometimes you'll be right. But what's the trend? The trend is up. The trend is more utility. The trend is more adoption. The trend is more wallets being created. Look at the metrics. And so you got this March 18th, the day before the Ripple lawsuit, the appeal anyway, went away. We got the news. He said, I think XRP will crash harder than any coin in the top 50 in the next 30 to 60. I mean, the strongest, but if you think that's it, fine, except for you've been screaming that forever. As evidenced by this, March 13th, 2023, here's a post. Why is XR shit at 36 cents and $18 billion market cap? Can't these fat losers rotate their money into something actually good? Fat losers equals XRP people. Don't get mad because it's true. Truth hurts. So there you go. XRP was at 36 cents. Why don't you sell and buy other stuff? Except for then XRP ran to $3.39 roughly and was a top performing asset, outperforming even Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana, other top coins. How about that? These people are just insufferable. And so the bias seeps into the analysis. Here's another post, April 28th, 2024. XRP to zero. That's the post, XRP to zero. What was I talking about on this channel in April of 2024? I was highlighting a number of things, including the fact that a number of XRP chart analysts, so many of them were noting, hey guys, XRP Bollinger Bands just hit the tightest in history. Haven't seen this since 2017.